The heat pressed against Nadia's skin as she stepped out of the airport, her suitcase wobbling behind her on uneven tiles. The air carried a mix of desert dust and perfume, a heady scent that promised luxury. She scanned the waiting crowd until her eyes found him. Karim Al-Mansour, tall, immaculate in a white, tailored suit, sunglasses hiding half his face. His smile broadened as though she belonged to him already. "Welcome to Dubai," he said, voice smooth as glass. He took her bag effortlessly, his hand brushing hers, lingering just enough to remind her of their late-night calls, his words that had filled her loneliness. She followed him into a black car that glided away from the chaos. The city rose like a mirage around her, glass towers shimmering, gold markets spilling light, fountains leaping in choreographed dances. Nadia pressed her face to the window, wide-eyed. She whispered, "It's like a dream." Karim chuckled softly. "A dream you deserve, and more." They reached the villa just as dusk painted the sky in orange and violet streaks. Iron gates opened with a silent command, revealing white stone walls, arched windows, and a garden lit with discreet golden lamps. The house seemed to breathe wealth, every corner crafted to impress. Inside, marble floors reflected the chandelier's glow. Silk drapes swayed with the air conditioning, and ornate mirrors caught Nadia's reflection, her pale face, her eager smile, the flicker of disbelief that she had arrived here at all. Karim watched her closely, stepping behind her. "This is your home now. Ours." She laughed nervously. "It's more than I imagined. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this." He guided her through hallways, lined with paintings, through rooms that whispered of old money and careful taste. A sunlit pool sparkled beyond glass doors, its blue surface perfectly still. At the top of the stairs, he paused outside a wide oak door. "The bedroom," he said, opening it with a flourish. Inside lay a canopy bed dressed in ivory linens, gold-trimmed furniture, and a balcony overlooking the city lights. Nadia gasped, her hand covering her mouth. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Karim tilted his head, his smile measured. "Only the beginning. I will give you everything, comfort, security, a life others can only dream of." She touched the balcony railing, staring at the city stretching endlessly. For a moment she let herself believe him. Let the glittering skyline convince her that love could look like this. Later that night, silence pressed harder than the desert heat. Nadia lay awake, listening to the hum of the air conditioner. Karim slept beside her, his breathing steady, but when she turned to glance at his face, his eyelids flickered open instantly, dark eyes locking onto hers. "You're safe," he murmured, before turning away again. Nadia swallowed, unease pricking her skin. She closed her eyes, forcing sleep, yet something inside her whispered that behind this mirage of wealth and promises, shadows waited. Morning sunlight spilled across the villa, gilding the marble floors. Nadia wandered barefoot through the hallways, her fingertips brushing over polished surfaces. The place was silent, except for the faint echo of her steps. Karim had left early, saying he had meetings, leaving her alone with the vastness of his world. She opened a door to the library, rows of leather-bound books smelling faintly of musk and ink. Another door led to a music room with a glossy piano. She smiled at the discovery, her laughter breaking the still air. But as she turned down another hallway, she found herself staring at doors that refused to open. She tugged at the first brass handle, locked, the second locked too. She pressed her ear against the wood, hearing nothing but her own heartbeat. A small frown tugged at her lips. Why would he lock so many rooms? That evening, when Karim returned, she tried to sound casual. "I explored a little today. The villa is endless, but some doors don't open. Do you keep valuables there?" Karim's smile was instant, yet too smooth. He set down a small velvet box in front of her. Inside, a delicate diamond bracelet glittered like trapped starlight. "Some spaces are private. Every house has them. Better to focus on what I open for you, not what I keep closed." Her fingers trembled as she slid the bracelet onto her wrist. She forced a laugh. "You always know how to distract me." His eyes lingered on her face a second longer than comfort allowed. Distraction isn't the word. Devotion. The next day, Karim insisted on taking her shopping. Expensive dresses, heels that pinched her toes, perfumes heavy with spice. The staff at boutiques bowed to him, their eyes flicking toward Nadia as though she were a prize on display. When she hesitated over a shimmering gown, Karim whispered, "You wear this for me tonight." Later, at dinner, her phone buzzed on the table, her mother's name flashing. Karim's gaze froze. "Not now," he said softly, though his voice carried a weight that left no space for refusal. "She'll worry if I don't pick up," Nadia protested gently. His hand brushed hers, steady but firm. "You'll call later. When I say." Nadia nodded, swallowing her unease. She silenced the phone. Across the table, Karim's smile returned as though nothing had cracked. That night she stood by the balcony, city lights flickering far below. She dialed her mother quickly, whispering, "Everything is fine, Mama. He's kind, generous. It feels unreal." "Do you feel safe?" her mother asked, her voice edged with caution. "Yes," Nadia answered, though her eyes drifted to the hallway where those locked doors waited. She hesitated before adding, "It's just, sometimes I wonder what I don't see." Before her mother could reply, footsteps echoed. Karim's figure appeared at the doorway. Watching, Nadia's hand tightened around the phone. "Good night, Mama," she said quickly, ending the call. Karim stepped closer, slipping an arm around her waist. "No secrets between us, Nadia, remember that." His lips touched her hair, gentle but heavy with unspoken warning. As he held her tighter, Nadia's gaze drifted past him, toward those silent, locked doors. The villa was no longer just a palace of dreams. It was beginning to feel like a cage. The bedroom glowed beneath golden lamps, the ivory canopy above casting shadows that bent across the walls. Nadia sat at the edge of the bed, smoothing the silk of her new gown. Karim entered quietly, his steps measured, his presence filling the room like heat. He carried a polished wooden box, setting it on the dresser with deliberate care. "Tonight," he said, "we begin something important." Her heart skipped. "Important?" He turned, eyes shining with something sharper than tenderness. "Trust, Nadia. True trust. Without it, there is no love." He opened the box. Inside lay satin ropes, blindfolds, cuffs that gleamed under the light. Nadia froze, her smile faltering. "Karim, I don't." He silenced her with a finger to her lips. "No fear, only surrender. You will see how deep my devotion runs, and how deep yours must run for me." The room thickened with silence. Nadia's throat tightened, yet when he kissed her hand gently, she felt the old warmth of his charm. He guided her to stand, his touch both soft and unyielding. "You wanted to know what was behind the doors," he murmured. "This is one of them. My world. Our world." Her pulse hammered as he tied the satin around her wrist. The fabric felt too delicate to hold her, yet it bound with frightening certainty. She tried to laugh lightly. "Karim, this is unusual." His smile curved, patient but unrelenting. "Unusual, yes. Necessary, more so." When the blindfold slipped over her eyes, darkness consumed her. Every sound grew louder, the shift of his shoes, the click of metal against wood, the faint rustle of chains hidden somewhere in the room. She whispered, "I don't want this." Karim's voice hardened, though still wrapped in velvet. "You'll learn. You'll thank me. Love is not weakness, Nadia. It is obedience." The ropes tightened around her wrists, pulling her into stillness. Panic rose, pressing against her chest. She pulled once, twice, but his grip steadied her. He whispered against her ear, "Don't struggle. It spoils the lesson." Tears stung beneath the blindfold. Her voice cracked. "Please, Karim." He paused, breath lingering near her cheek. For a fleeting moment, she thought he might release her. Instead, he stroked her hair, his tone softening. "One day you'll understand this is for us." Hours later, when the blindfold slipped away, Nadia lay trembling, wrists burning from the ropes. Karim stood near the window, staring out at the glittering skyline. He looked calm, almost serene. "You see now," he said quietly, what love requires. Nadia pulled the sheets over her bruised arms, biting back words that would only tighten his grip. She nodded faintly, her silence the only shield she had left. Karim turned, his smile once again perfect, as though nothing had broken. Tomorrow I'll show you more. As he left the room, the door clicking shut behind him, Nadia pressed her hands against her chest. The bedroom, once a sanctuary, had shifted into something darker, a chamber where trust was twisted into chains. The villa's mirrors reflected perfection. Nadia adjusted the diamond necklace, Karim clasped around her neck, hiding the faint bruise at her collarbone beneath its glitter. The gown he had chosen shimmered like liquid gold, long sleeves concealing the angry marks around her wrists. Karim entered behind her, adjusting his cufflinks. "You're stunning," he said, admiring his creation more than her. "Tonight, they will envy me." At the gala, chandeliers glowed above marble halls, laughter and champagne flowing as easily as money. Karim moved with ease among politicians, businessmen and royals. He introduced Nadia as his treasure, his hand never leaving her back. Smiles surrounded her, yet every gaze carried weight, envy, curiosity, whispers of admiration for Karim's latest conquest. She forced her smile wider, nodding at compliments, laughing softly when prompted. The bruise beneath the necklace throbbed, an unspoken secret. In the restroom, away from the music, she finally exhaled. She lifted the sleeve of her gown slightly. Purple shadows spread across her skin, reminders of ropes that hadn't loosened quickly enough. Her reflection trembled back at her, elegant and broken in the same breath. The door creaked open. A woman in emerald silk glanced at her, eyes narrowing briefly at the bruise before darting away, smile plastered on. No words, no questions. Silence was safer in these circles. Later that night, back at the villa, Nadia sat at the vanity, removing makeup carefully. Karim leaned against the doorway, watching. "You were perfect," he said, voice soft, almost tender. "Everyone saw how you belonged to me." She kept her gaze on the mirror. "Do they know what happens when we come home?" Karim's smile faltered just slightly, his reflection flickering like a shadow. He walked closer, setting his hand gently on her shoulder. "They see what I want them to see. And you," his fingers pressed harder, "will remember that." Her chest tightened, but she swallowed her reply. Silence had become her shield. When she finally spoke to her mother days later, her voice carried a rehearsed calm. "Everything is wonderful, Mama. Karim takes care of me." Her mother's tone was hesitant. "You sound tired, Nadia. Are you sure you're happy?" "I'm just adjusting," Nadia whispered, eyes fixed on the locked doors across the hall. "It's a different world here." She ended the call quickly, heart pounding. That night, Karim returned from another meeting. He slipped into bed beside her, arms encircling her. His breath warmed her neck as he murmured, "You're mine, Nadia. Forever." Her eyes stared at the ceiling, wide and sleepless. Outside, the city glittered with lights and promise. Inside, the villa swallowed her in silence, hiding bruises behind curtains of silk and gold. The next morning, the villa smelled faintly of jasmine and bleach. Nadia woke to the sound of a door closing softly somewhere downstairs. Karim had left early again. She wrapped a shawl over her bruised arms and stepped into the hallway. In the kitchen stood a woman she had never seen before, young, dark-eyed, wearing a simple grey uniform and a headscarf. She was quietly wiping the counters, her movements efficient but hesitant, as though she feared disturbing the silence. Their eyes met. The woman offered a small smile. "Good morning," she said in accented English. "Morning," Nadia replied, voice cautious. "I didn't know anyone else was here." "I start today," the woman said. "Cleaning, laundry, everything Mr. Karim asks." She lowered her gaze briefly. "My name is Amina." Nadia nodded, pouring herself coffee. The mug shook slightly in her hand. "You're from Sudan," Amina said softly. "Here to work." She hesitated, then added, "I am sorry. I don't mean to intrude." "You're not intruding," Nadia said quickly. Her throat tightened at the gentleness in Amina's tone. No one had spoken to her like that in weeks. For the rest of the day, Amina moved quietly through the villa, but Nadia felt her presence like a lifeline. In passing, she caught Amina's glance linger on the locked doors, then flick away. No questions, but understanding glimmered there. Later, while Karim was out, Amina entered Nadia's room with fresh linens. As she spread the sheets, she noticed a faint bruise at Nadia's wrist where the sleeve had slipped. Her hands stilled. She did not ask. Instead, she murmured, "Sometimes silence hides danger." Nadia froze, heart pounding. She met Amina's eyes in the mirror. "You don't understand," she whispered. Amina lowered her voice. "I don't need to. I see enough." She slipped something under Nadia's pillow before leaving, a folded scrap of paper. Nadia waited until the hallway was empty before pulling it out. In hurried Arabic and shaky English it read, "If you need help, I can try." Tears pricked her eyes. She folded the note back, clutching it as though it could hold her together. That evening, Karim returned. His smile was broad, but his eyes swept the room, noticing the tiniest things. He brushed a finger across the dresser. "You had company." "The new maid," Nadia said lightly. "You hired her." Karim's smile did not shift. "I know who she is." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I hope you're not sharing our private matters." Nadia forced a small laugh. "There's nothing to share." Karim's gaze lingered a beat too long before softening. "Good girl," he murmured, kissing her forehead. When he left the room, Nadia clutched the note tighter. Amina's presence had cracked the villa's silence, but it also made the air more dangerous. Beyond the locked doors, she could hear faint metallic sounds, chains shifting, wood creaking, like the house itself was warning her of what was coming next. The villa was too quiet. Nadia sat on the edge of the bed, fingers brushing the folded note Amina had given her. She thought of calling her mother, of whispering the truth at last, but the thought of Karim's shadow in the doorway silenced her. That night, Karim arrived earlier than usual. His smile was absent, his jaw tight. He walked into the room carrying the same polished wooden box she dreaded. Without speaking, he set it down and opened it. The glint of chains caught the light. Nadia's stomach twisted. "Karim, not tonight." He closed the distance between them. His hand cupped her chin, forcing her gaze upward. "I found something," he said softly. "A note." Her breath caught. "Amina." Karim's eyes darkened. "You think you can plot in my house? You think you can lie to me?" "I didn't." Her voice cracked. She wanted to help." "Help?" His laugh was low, sharp. "No one helps you. No one touches what is mine." Before she could step back, his hands closed around her wrists, dragging her toward the oak door at the end of the hall. The door that had always been locked. Tonight, it opened with a metallic groan. The room beyond was colder, darker. Chains hung from iron hooks. A chair bolted to the floor, gleamed under a single bulb. The air smelled of metal and leather, suffocating. "No," Nadia whispered, stumbling backward. "Please, Karim, I'll be good. I swear." "You already failed," he said, pushing her into the room. The door slammed shut. The chains clattered as he bound her wrists above her head. The metal bit into her skin, cold and merciless. She struggled once, twice, but his grip was unyielding. "Obedience," he hissed. "That is the only way you survive me." Her tears blurred the bulb's harsh glow. "You don't love me," she choked. "You only love control." Karim's face hardened. He leaned close, his breath hot against her ear. "Control is love. You'll learn that chained here until it burns into your soul." The hours crawled. She lost count of time, of pain, of his words echoing around the chamber. The walls swallowed her cries, muffled and unheard. When finally he unfastened her wrists, she collapsed to the floor, trembling. Karim crouched beside her, stroking her hair with mock tenderness. "You'll never leave me alive," he whispered. Nadia closed her eyes, biting her lip until blood filled her mouth. Somewhere in her chest, a small ember of defiance sparked. If she was to survive, she would need more than silence. Karim stood, locking the door behind him. The chains swayed gently in the stillness, mocking her. Alone on the cold floor, Nadia pressed her hands to her bruised skin. She thought of Amina, of the note hidden under her pillow, of the faint hope it carried. Hope now was dangerous, but it was the only thing she had left. Dawn crept through the curtains, pale light softening the sharp lines of the villa. Nadia sat at the edge of the bed, wrists raw beneath her sleeves. Karim had left for the day, his voice lingering in memory. "You'll never leave alive." The sound of footsteps in the hallway made her flinch. But when the door opened, it wasn't Karim. It was Amina. Her eyes widened at the sight of Nadia's bruises. She closed the door quickly, pressing a finger to her lips. "We must go," Amina whispered. Nadia's heart hammered. "He'll kill us." "He already will if you stay," Amina said firmly. She pulled a small key from her pocket, glancing nervously toward the hall. "I've been watching. He doesn't return before evening. This is our only chance." Nadia's breath came fast, shallow. Fear clung to her, but the ember inside her burned brighter now. She nodded. They moved quickly. Amina led her through back corridors, past locked doors that Nadia didn't dare open. The air smelled faintly of metal, of secrets left behind. At the servants' entrance, Amina fumbled with the lock until the door swung wide. Heat and sunlight flooded in, blinding after days of shadow. For a moment, Nadia hesitated. The villa loomed behind her, its white stone glowing like a mask. Every bruise screamed at her to run, yet part of her still felt the invisible chain binding her to Karim's voice. Amina tugged her hand. Now, they slipped into the narrow streets, weaving through alleys where the perfume of spice markets masked their fear. Nadia kept glancing over her shoulder, expecting Karim's black car to appear, expecting his hand to seize her again. By afternoon, they reached a small police station tucked between shops. Nadia's legs shook as Amina pushed her inside. Officers looked up, startled at the sight of two women, one trembling, one determined. He keeps her prisoner," Amina said breathlessly. "There is a room, chains, locks." Nadia's voice cracked. "He'll come for me. You don't know what he'll do." But the officers listened. They wrote, they asked, they called others. Hours blurred, and by evening sirens split the Dubai streets. When they returned to the villa, Nadia watched from the safety of the police car. Karim stood at the gates, his perfect suit pressed, his smile gone. Officers swarmed around him, voices sharp, cameras flashing. He raised his hands slowly, but his eyes found hers through the glass, cold, steady, promising. "You'll never leave alive," his voice echoed in her mind, though his lips did not move. Days later, Nadia sat in a small room with pale walls, wrapped in a blanket. Freedom tasted strange, half relief, half terror. Her mother's voice trembled over the phone, promising to come to take her home. Yet even as she listened, Nadia's gaze drifted to her wrists. The bruises had faded to yellow, but they still ached. The scars inside were deeper, carved into silence she might never escape. The villa stood abandoned now, windows shuttered, the bedroom locked. But Nadia knew what waited inside, that chains could linger long after they were broken, that love twisted into control never truly disappeared. She closed her eyes, whispering to herself, "I survived." But survival came at a cost. The horror would always live with her.